Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and today we're going to be talking about dating as an introvert. As an introvert myself, I've learned that there are so many ways to utilize this aspect of your personality to your advantage. It is not a bad thing to be an introvert, and I think that's a common misconception, especially when it comes to dating. So in this video, I'm going to share some common challenges of dating as an introvert and assist in navigating the dating process moving forward. For every challenge I present to you, I'll also share some helpful tips and solutions, or just sort of a different way to look at it. Remember, being an introvert doesn't automatically mean you're antisocial. It's just a temperament. Many introverts are self-aware, intelligent, great listeners, and have so many other wonderful characteristics that make them fantastic people to date. You don't have to be an extrovert to meet great women, and I hope this video helps paint that picture. So the first challenge here that I think a lot of introverts may feel is putting yourself out there. I think many introverts feel an initial intimidation with dating because it requires you to put yourself out there and to meet new people. Introverts might find this aspect of meeting new people to be the most difficult, but in terms of dating itself, introverts are usually the most comfortable in one-on-one situations, so this is helpful to remember in the moments where you may feel intimidated. And the good news is you don't have to go to bars, clubs, crowded spots, or places where you're unbelievably uncomfortable in order to meet someone. I would actually suggest not going to any of those places, actually, regardless of if you're an introvert or not. The bad news here is you do unfortunately have to leave your house to meet new people. Bummer, I know, unless you go the route of online dating, but you'll still have to leave your house eventually. So might as well rip the band-aid off now. My recommendation here would be to try to meet people at group activities like a book club, a class, some sort of hobby you enjoy, or shared locations that you frequent often like a local cafe. Something that can really help you here is establishing a connection with someone before you even have your first conversation. You already know that you have something in common, and it can feel much less intimidating to put yourself out there because of this. You'll already have a nice starting point of something to talk about. So I know a lot of you might feel intimidated to put yourself out there and to meet new people, but there are ways to approach this as an introvert that can make you feel a lot more comfortable and at ease with the situation. You'll be able to understand yourself and your personality and what scenarios or situations are going to work in your favor versus maybe what's not. Navigating the complexities of dating can be challenging, introvert or not, and seeking support from professionals can provide valuable insights and guidance. Therapy can give you tools to approach your life or dating specifically in a very different way. It sure did for me, and that's why I'm so excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp makes starting therapy easier and for many people, much less intimidating. BetterHelp lets you have therapy sessions as a phone call, a video chat, or even messaging, whatever's the most comfortable version of therapy for you. BetterHelp can match you to one of over 30,000 therapists in their network, which gives you access to a wider range of expertise than may be available in your city. Join over 4 million people who've used BetterHelp to start living a healthier, happier life. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/Courtney Ryan. Clicking that link helps support this channel and also gets you 10% off of your first month of BetterHelp so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. To get started, you just fill out a questionnaire that will ask you questions about what challenges you're going through and what kind of therapist you'd like. You'll be matched with a therapist in most cases within 48 hours. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing with therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost. So click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/Courtney Ryan. Okay, the next challenge here is initiating conversations and small talk. Some introverts might feel that it's difficult to initiate conversations or engage in small talk, not necessarily because they're shy or antisocial. Again, this is a myth about introverts that just isn't always true. However, this doesn't mean they can't hold a conversation and actually make for great conversationalists. And I think if you know that going in, it can make you feel a lot more at ease. But one thing that can really help you push past this is just to have some ideas of things to ask people if you know that you're going into a social situation so that you feel a little bit more confident. I know it might sound silly, but take a look at some conversation starters and take note of ones that interest you so that it feels less intimidating to start up a convo with another person. And honestly, if you just approach a conversation with genuine curiosity and interest, you will be fine. Just ask questions, have that genuine curiosity and wanting to get to know them, and it will be a breeze. And as tough as it is, remember that small talk does have a purpose. In order to build rapport and trust, you have to start somewhere. The good news here, though, is that introverts can be incredibly good listeners and don't have a problem taking interest in others and being curious, which is super helpful in conversations, regardless of how surface level they are. Listen more and talk less can absolutely work to your advantage here and prevent your social battery from draining out quickly. Play to your strengths, right? And I also want to say there's a huge difference between being more quiet versus being shy, the same way there's a difference between being loud versus being confident. The two do not always go hand in hand, and I think it's important to remember that when you're approaching conversations. The next challenge of dating as an introvert is that we're often slower to open up. Many introverts have a tendency to be more deliberate in their approach to opening up to others due to their inclination towards introspection and a preference for deeper, more meaningful connections. Simply put here, they're often slower to open up and picky about who they bring into their life. This can sometimes feel like a challenge if people mistake your hesitancy for a lack of interest, when in reality, it might just take you a little longer to warm up to them and let those walls down. Others might see this as a difficulty to read you, which could lead to some misunderstandings. I've had people think that I'm mean and snobby just because I was quiet in a group setting, when in reality, I just prefer listening to people and am rather reserved, especially in a large group where I feel less comfortable. So I've been there, I know how it goes, and one piece of advice I could give you here is to pay attention to your body language in these situations, especially if you aren't necessarily communicating with your words. You can show your interest through your body language. And I'd also say here, make sure that you're communicating, but that would be my advice to anyone, introvert or not. And don't be afraid to do things like initiate conversations or even plan the next date. This will show that you're interested in pursuing things with someone without rushing or oversharing things about yourself that you're maybe not quite ready to share just because you feel pressured to do so. We're all different and move at varying paces, and that's totally okay, and I want you to remember that. As long as you communicate and make sure that you're on the same page, you should be just fine. And rest assured, as I think this can actually be a really good thing in dating, you're giving yourself the time and the space to be thoughtful and intentional about your relationship, which ultimately is going to help you create more meaningful, healthy relationships in the long run. Also, this can come across incredibly attractive to people as well, because you're showing, one, I'm comfortable with a slower pace, I'm not trying too hard, I'm okay with pauses in conversation and moments of silence, which can inspire curiosity and intrigue from the person that you're on a date with. So it's not always a bad thing, there's always a positive way to look at it, and if you understand this and use it to your advantage, it can actually help you out quite a bit with dating. The next challenge is a pressure to be outgoing. Because there are so many false assumptions made about introverts, and it's often made out to be a bad thing, I think a lot of us try to reject this aspect of who we are and just pretend to be something that we're not. Not to mention the obvious here, our society has sort of a cultural bias towards the extrovert ideal, which is sort of the belief that we're all supposed to be charismatic, quick thinking, risk takers who prefer action to contemplation. I'm sure many people feel the need to conform or pretend to fit into this category, which actually just makes things harder for you and is going to attract people who aren't actually interested in the real you. I have heard so many of you guys say that you struggle with this, especially dating as an introverted man. Men are often expected to make the first move, to plan the date, take initiative, lead a conversation. And I know if you're dating as an introvert, a lot of those things can feel a little bit intimidating and overwhelming. So in this case, I would just say do your best. You don't have to be perfect. You're not a robot, you're a human being. So just do your best. And even speaking from my personal experience here, I can't tell you how many times in the past I heard, "You're so boring," or "You never want to have fun," when the reality was my idea of fun just didn't align with the people that I was surrounding myself with. And a piece of advice I'd give here to my fellow introverts is to be at peace with your introversion and view it as something to showcase on dates rather than feeling like you need to put on some sort of extroverted dog and pony show. This is just not sustainable long term and is ultimately going to attract the wrong people for you specifically. The next challenge is the fear of rejection. And this isn't limited to just introverts. I know this is a fear for many people. Introverts may experience a heightened fear of rejection in dating scenarios due to their sensitivity to and desire for meaningful connections, making them more vulnerable to the emotional impact of perceived rejection. Research suggests that introverts may have a fear of rejection in dating due to their tendency to process information more deeply and reflect on potential outcomes more, leading to a heightened sensitivity to social cues and a greater fear of negative evaluation or disapproval from others. But ultimately, rejection is a redirection and it's a learning opportunity. It doesn't mean that everyone is going to reject you in the future, and it's certainly not the end of the world. It's just a part of the process. Also, how can someone truly reject you when they don't even know you? Something to think about. And a point that I really want to drive home here with you guys as well is that the challenges you have with dating can actually be used to your advantage if you know how to do so. You don't have to be Mr. Social Butterfly, charismatic extrovert to have success in your dating life. I promise. Understanding all of these points has really helped me navigate social situations as an introvert, and my hope with this video is to help you guys do the same. Sometimes just being aware of the challenges you might be experiencing and knowing you aren't alone in them can make a huge difference in how you approach these situations moving forward. And I've done a handful of other videos about dating as an introvert as well, and I think those could be beneficial too if you guys haven't watched them already. I'll link them down below in the description for you. If you like this video or found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to be in the loop for when I release new content. Let me know down in the comments, what are some challenges you experience as dating as an introverted man specifically? I would love to hear from you guys down below in the comments and help some other guys out in the process. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me over on Instagram at Courtney Christine Ryan. I love connecting with all of you guys over on there as well. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.